Hello and welcome to the first Project Umbrella podcast audio commentary. We know at least two people who have been requesting this. So, due to that public pressure, we feel...
One of them was you.
One of them was me, that's right. We feel that it's only appropriate that we sit and endure for some, or enjoy for others, the first Resident Evil film released back in 2002. So, myself is here as Neptune, we've got Rombie, we've got Batman, and we've got STARS Tyrant. Oh, yes, and all with varying opinions, I feel. It should be quite a balanced discussion. So if anyone wants to join in, put on the film. We're watching it from the US version and the PAL DVD/Blue version. And if you want to follow us, we've paused it at the moment on where it says Constantin Film Present. So if you get that in there, and then we will do a little countdown, then you can all hit play, and then you can listen to our insightful commentary about this forgotten classic.
Your mileage may vary.
We're going to do a 5-second or a 3-second countdown. Let's not build the anticipation too much. And then we will crack on. So 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go.
All right.
So for the record, everybody, this is about 15 years since I last saw this. I saw it at the cinema, and I hated every minute of it.
Look, confidential report. Another link to the canonicity of the...
I have to admit, this opening is a pretty good way to describe what Umbrella is, at least as far as the film version goes.
I have to say, going into the cinema, I was so excited, and I was immediately cut down in my prime by the opening of this credit, where it said at the beginning of the 21st century.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, it can't fit with Resident Evil 2.
I think we as nitpickers at the time, because we didn't want this film to exist, we were literally just picking everything. You know, the fact, it's not 1998 then. You know, we even were critiquing it down to that kind of level.
To be honest, though,
the modern logo.
Back in 2002, I wasn't actually a massive hated enemy of Paul Anderson. I thought his work on Mortal Kombat and Event Horizon were quite good. So I was actually, when I first heard he got the director job for this, I was quite looking forward to it.
Do you want to know what the big difference is between those films and this film, or this film series, really? Is that he didn't write those two films.
I know, yeah.
So here we are, the first scene of Umbrella Corporation live in the flesh, so to speak.
And it's the first bastardization, isn't it? Because Dark Side Chronicles and Orc remodeled William Birkin's lab based on this scene.
And don't they get the virus colours mixed up? Isn't the T-virus the wrong colour? Isn't it blue and the antivirus green or something?
Yes, that's the T-virus. That design of the virus container, though, is very stylish. Like, it's become such an iconic image, and I think it's one of the coolest things in this movie, actually. I'm not exaggerating.
It's the daylight shooter from Outbreak.
Yeah.
It's not.
It is.
I like that. I like that case. That's pretty cool.
Oh, there we go. He's throwing the cask. And your instant clue here that we're dealing with the Code Veronica variant of the T-virus, the airborne one. So there, that's a nice.
We got a big clue.
Nice.
We got a big clue as to who it was, but the fact we saw the coat and then we see him walking around, it's not really hiding much suspense.
Thank you.
I think the thing that's frustrating is that the direction is not terrible. It's actually quite slick in places.
Well, this is the thing I was saying. Like, as a director, Anderson's actually pretty good. It's just his writing and combined with his directing, it's great.
Oh, dogs. I thought it was quite cool to see not, because you never really see it in the games, what Umbrella was doing before, in normal life, before infection.
I really like the idea that we've obviously find out later on this is an underground lab, but that you think it's a building because they have this like scenery outside and so forth, and they're trying to trick you into it. But I feel like that could have been played on quite a bit. With the lab, but they don't bother keeping that ruse up. It's basically becomes the mansion lab, the hive, as this now becomes.
I have to say, Red Queen's a bit slow on the uptake with the T-virus detection. She seems to take a good couple of minutes.
I think she wants people to be infected intentionally. That's my guess. Like, once it's out there, she lets it sink in before.
Cover up the rabbits.
But it's enough time for what's his name to get to the Spence to get to the.
Oh, don't ruin it.
the train.
Spoilers.
I'm sure.
Quite well they have guard
people
dogs.
listening to this have seen this movie before. If you've not, then I don't know why you're listening to us, unless you've decided never to watch this movie until we decided to do this.
I'm pretty sure she's from Casualty, if I remember correctly. Back in the day.
I'd imagine this was probably filmed in the UK, was it?
I think it was filmed in Germany. Actually, I was going to comment on that. That's one of the other good things about this film is the production design, and that's simply because they used like an underground railway thing in Germany. And,
it was disused underground station, wasn't it? I think.
Oh, it was brand new. It was brand new.
Yeah.
Hadn't even opened yet. Yeah.
That's Paul Anderson's sister, I believe.
Is it?
No fire!
They were the Easter eggs. This is like your very own IMDb guide to listen along, guys.
That's a good show.
I can sense the excitement in your voice, Nick.
I just think this whole introduction is great.
I do have to admit, this as an intro scene to what would be a horror movie is actually pretty good.
And it's interesting to see that over the years Paul Anderson went on. He grew a real love for slow motion, which doesn't exist in this sort of era of his career. This film has very little of that.
Very little, yeah. It's a couple of action sequences have it. I'm just thinking mostly of the dog kick and so forth. Yeah.
Quite
he
why
definitely
this
wears influences on his sleeve.
Yeah.
So Red Queen's trying to kill them all to stop them from leaving and spreading the T-virus. Is that right?
And the emergency brake kicks in, yeah. I think, at this point I'm not sure if she's trying to kill them or she's just trying to keep them as close to the hive, because they're going to die anyway.
There you go, all infected now.
But she sets off the Halon system to kill them all, doesn't she?
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, she's trying to keep them... There we go, yeah.
I like the mortality decrease rate. It was quite little. You're like, oh
There's
no.
a lot of good information. I think that overlay is really cool. I do actually admit. I remember doing me and Rami did a website for the movie back when we thought it might be okay. But he managed to get. There was an early. This is another bit of a interesting. There was a copy of this that leaked early on the internet, which was not particularly great at the time, but it was good for us because we had an idea of what the graphics looked like and overlays and so forth. So we used that as the base.
Huh. This bit always amused me because look,
this bit is ridiculous.
They're peeking through, going, "Oh blimey, it's all doom and gloom." Yeah, got to get out of the building. Yeah, and then this bright spark goes. It's all right. I can squeeze. No, you can't squeeze through that, love. I mean, look at that. Could barely fit a poodle. Oh yeah, no shit, you're stuck. Yeah, I don't believe it.
I'm just going to rattle on about a little bit about background with this as well. This is pretty obvious what's going to happen. Most people will know this anyway, but George Romero, who's considered the grandfather of zombie films, was supposed to direct this, and he wrote a draft script, which I put on the internet, got about 2,000. And the irony is that Anderson talks about this on the commentary and a little bit in the EPK, but he mentions Romero's films as an inspiration, which is kind of funny. For people on the internet who are following the development of this version of the film anyway, the first information we got about it after Paul Anderson was announced was actually through a casting call that went on the internet looking for the actors and actresses for this film. And it basically gave the plot away and explained
did it?
It was going to be a supercomputer and zombies. And everyone was like, what the hell does a supercomputer have to do with Resident Evil?
Sure. Well, we're now introduced to Mila.
Yes, with the eye shot, which is a reference to the games, obviously. This is an ongoing thematic.
She looks very young here, doesn't she?
Mm.
And she's had a couple of kids.
I guess it's worth noting this is the movie where they met and went on to eventually be husband and wife.
Oh, there you go.
Miller has had, I think, 2 marriages to directors.
Luc Besson
The other
was
one
one, wasn't it?
Luc Besson, that's correct. And she's been married to an actor she met on, was it Dazed and Confused? They got it annulled. They were I think they were under 18. So.
Little nip slip coming up there. Yeah, there we go.
Well done, Nick.
That's all right. That's all right. And then I thought, oh my god, we're in the mansion. In come the music.
See, I like these bits. The nice, quiet bits.
Where not much is happening.
Yeah.
We got a naked girl running around the house. Yeah. That's the best bit.
No, but where the series goes, this is probably more in line with its roots, isn't it? Being lost in a haunted house.
And not knowing what's going on. Because it's amnesia, obviously, based off this.
It's Alyssa Ashcroft's dress.
This is a bit of a not Easter egg. This doesn't tie up later on in the film. I think the handwriting is
signature.
different.
Yeah, no, it's completely different again. Yeah, it's terrible. It's a really bad piece of continuity. The dress is really interesting because the first ever still they released was the shot of her in the laser hallway, which we didn't know was the laser hallway, obviously then. Wearing that dress, and everyone was like, "Why is she wearing a dress? This is weird." And who is she? And it was not very well received. But as I said, like this casting call had already leaked a lot of information. People were quite upset about it.
There we go. So it says mansion entrance hall. You see, so I was like, "Ooh." Yeah, and I was trying to tell. This is definitely the mansion from the first game. And I was like, "It doesn't look the same, does it?" And is that the dining room? Is that the no? I honestly had so many things going on in my mind the first time, trying to connect it up.
The movie doesn't really push much pretense in the way of mystery. Like obviously she wakes up and she does this note and it's not the same handwriting. Then she opens a drawer and there's guns, and we keep getting this camera position, which tells you that you're still related to the lab, because obviously you wouldn't have the same similar camera system unless it was an umbrella facility. So the pretense of any mystery is pretty much gone straight away. Which unfortunately is another telltale trait of Anderson's writing. He's very.
What's the Rob? You're watching it on Blu-ray. What's the blue? I'm watching it on DVD. Surprisingly holding up quite well. What's the Blu-ray quality like?
Not too bad. A little bit murky in the blacks, but it's actually pretty good. It's not a bad. It just depends on what it's shot on and how it's mastered.
Yeah, and that's that shot I didn't like when they lit up the mansion. I was like, oh, that's not Spencer Mansion. But there we go. The disappointment was creeping in already. You see at this point, folks.
I can hear the others have gone completely quiet because they're like, ugh.
I'm just engrossed. I'm just.
Engrossed so much.
The worst thing that this all did, and like with regards to the mansion not being the same, was just fending off the people that were trying to call this canon, saying, "Oh, it's clearly a different facility in the town," and it was just the forums were painful.
Yeah, it didn't help that Anderson himself was really pushing the idea that this was almost like a prequel.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah,
which obviously doesn't match up.
It's
just
mad.
Straight from the first text.
It's mad. Here comes Hunk and his team, the USS.
And this is where I just knew it was all going to go wrong, because this music and everything was just.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? It's absolutely horrible.
It's ridiculous that she gets scared back into the house by a gust of wind, and then this happens, and then she gets yanked in, and
it's the helicopter. You can hear it in the background.
The music is just ridiculous. You can't even hear the dialogue in the scene.
I want your report.
Yeah, the music's just really. I have to admit, music being loud aside, the soundtrack was actually pretty ahead of its time. It became a real standard thing to have a combination of like a traditional composer and like a electronic dance producer. Now it's such a common thing, but back in 2002 that was not.
What does it say on their sleeves?
Doesn't say USS.
No, I don't think
it's
does.
umbrella.
I can't quite read it.
No, it's a chap from James Bond.
It says sanitation, I think.
I actually quite like this actor. What's his name?
Colin Salmon. Yeah, he's
I think he's actually quite good. He's done some quite good work in the UK and British television and that.
James Bond.
Yeah, he does that.
Yeah, it was good.
He was in Alien and Predator, wasn't he? Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, because Anderson wanted to work with him. He did that. I'm going to spoil something. And he did that because he killed off his character in this so quickly.
Michelle Rodriguez had a promising career at this time, didn't she? Now she's just exclusively Fast and Furious movies.
Pretty much. She came off the back of a boxing movie. And it was a Girl Fight or something like that.
Yeah.
It's meant to be
and
really
that
good.
was,
I've never seen it.
It is a good movie, actually. Yeah, she's really good in it too.
It's the train from Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, but they spell the fucking thing wrong, don't they?
No, all these scenes were, you said mentioned in a
It's supposed to be Galaxy 5000, isn't it? And he missed the G because it's so bad. It's such a schoolboy error.
It does look pretty good, though.
It does look good. It looks spot on. All these scenes were filmed. It's under the German Reichstag, I believe.
No, see,
the station was under the Reichstag.
This is all brand new. I knew this much.
That's cheesy. I don't like the account.
You guys are complaining about the train misspelling. Actually, it's intentional. It's supposed to be a reference to combining that with Alexia Ashford.
Oh yeah, because that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's just. I think it's just supposed to be a nod. It's not supposed to be direct. The interesting thing I'm going to say, because we're making a commentary, I do think it's worth listening to the commentary by the actors on this movie itself. I did watch this last time I watched this for this article that I wrote with the commentary. They start talking about Grand Theft Auto at some stage and they get told off, which is kind of funny. Because I said not by Capcom, so which is kind of funny actually, because at the time Capcom was actually publishing the Grand Theft Auto games in Japan, so it actually wasn't actually anything bad, which is kind of funny. And also they spend a lot of time, Miller and Michelle especially spend a lot of time talking about random things and going partying in Germany, and also give I can't even remember the actor's name, the guy that plays Matt, a lot of crap. Because his motivation, he always wanted motivation for his scenes, and apparently he ate a lot of yogurt. So they keep talking about how his motivation will be yogurt. It's pretty random, but it's one of the funniest random audio commentaries I've actually ever listened to.
See, and you thought I would be full of useless information about this film. Rob's just piling it in.
He is, isn't he? The inside of the train looks spot on.
Yep.
Yeah, the inside definitely is right. I do like the fact that the those poles hung up in the middle is not at all, and the fact they have to connect the electricity is not at all subtle, and foreshadowing.
Chekhov's gun working its will here.
With giant SCART leads as well, I might add. Seemingly SCART cables can power up.
Just so many cheap jump scares, this film as well. The character head pops in and makes other character jump. It's just so cheap.
But that's part of the game, though, isn't it? I mean, it's no different to a blooming, dogs jumping through the windows.
If this film had a jump scare on that level, Nick, I would praise it.
So I guess we should talk.
Another actually really good actor, absolutely solid.
To be fair, the cast in this is actually pretty good. There's not anyone who's absolutely terrible. Some of the supporting players who die instantly are, but that's good that they die instantly. Should we broach the subject of what Anderson's really biggest reference here is, or biggest inspiration, rather is, because I know you guys want to talk about it.
Aliens.
Yeah.
It's just
so I'm going to give you a little bit of information that will give you a bit of background about it, because this is another bit of random trivia that I do know from having to read up about this. So one of Ramiro's complaints about why he was let go was that the production company Constantine Films wanted a much more heavier kind of action-y war film than what he was wanting to make. And it seems pretty spot on actually in the end, that really what they wanted to do was kind of more of a heavy sci-fi kind of a team-based thing to add more characters and deaths and so forth.
Well, they wanted aliens, didn't they, basically?
Yeah, and that's it. And so you can't really, as much as we can say, Anderson really wanted to rip off aliens, I don't actually know if that wasn't just the production company as well wanting that, quite simply.
Well, I've got a bit of useless trivia for you. Apparently this film is a guilty pleasure of James Cameron.
Oh. Oh, wow. Where did you find this information out?
I read it it was quite a few years ago now. I couldn't actually believe it when I read it, but apparently it's a guilty pleasure. He said it in an interview.
See, this bit I like. So we're now up to the point of the explanation from Colin Salmon.
Which is all his characters for. Sorry to say, but
it's a nice moment, and it was the first time you kind of seen the schematic of the hive. And for years afterwards, I was pointing out that all this hive is actually below. Part of it is below Birkin's lab and things like this. And if you look at here's the Raccoon City map, and you go, well, that's the A mansion, maybe the mansion, whatever. And then you're on the same train line as it comes down there. It goes, wonderful, wonderful. And then that comes to the hive at the bottom. And this is the station where Birkin goes. And the shaft, you see the shaft that goes upwards. If you look carefully, you can see some other bits. And that's Birkin's labs and the water treatment plant. And that little bit that you don't visit. That was my theory for Donkeys, to make it all fit. There's Birkin's lab.
The interesting to me as well about that map is that Anderson uses it quite effectively, I think, in this movie as a kind of a cheat to get you from a location to a location, but it became a bit of a crutch throughout the rest of the films, because when he had no ability to have a reason to have those maps, he doesn't know how to transition from a scene to a scene. And it's true. You go back and watch. I think it's the fourth one. It's the one with the prison, and I think there's a couple of times where he just fades to white, or just cuts, and you're all of a sudden in a different place, and you're like, "Hang on, wait, what?" Whereas he uses these quite effectively to transition, I think.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Am I right in thinking one of these operatives is called Spencer?
Yeah. There's Spence. Yeah.
Spence.
Which again, is a reference to Spencer.
Do we actually learn the names of any of the other characters apart from Del Rodriguez?
There's
JD.
One in DJ. Was it DJ? Yeah, DJ.
JD
and Kaplan, the tech guy.
Yeah.
And Rain.
Rain. Medic.
The others are just literally medic and I can't remember. They're in the credits as that. And I'm going to throw this piece of trivia out here because I didn't even realize this. You don't actually hear Alice's name once in this movie.
No, you do not.
The only reason you know it's Alice is in the credits. She's credited as Alice.
Which is a reference to Alice in Wonderland.
Which was something I was going to touch on. So Anderson's original script, which there is copies around, which has got an entirely different final act, and he changed apparently based on feedback from Capcom producers, had way more very heavy Alice in Wonderland references, which is all about them going into the hive, is going down the rabbit hole. And it's not a bad inspiration. And there's still bits of it in the finished film, but they're not very obvious aside from Alice's name, which obviously, as I said, is not mentioned. There's a paperweight used later on, and then obviously the Red Queen is the.
Mm-hmm. You saw the white rabbits being dissected in the lab as well.
Yes, so I forgot about that too. Yeah, so there's a lot of it there, but it's not as overt as it was in the original script.
Looks like we're taking the stairs. So I warned everyone before that I could probably quote this film from beginning to end. I won't. That will ruin everyone's enjoyment of it. But there we go.
So obviously we know we're back in the same space from the starting part of the movie. So we've connected those parts back together.
Yeah. It's a long time before actually you see anything. It's a relatively good build-up.
The first thing is when they go through the flooded section.
Here it comes, yeah.
You see the first zombie, but they don't see it.
He had a big opportunity here, though, didn't he? Because this was the first sort of mainstream film that brought back the zombie genre, didn't it?
Pretty much.
And then 28 Days Later was shortly afterwards, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there was
Dawn of the Dead.
There was a resurgence. Yeah. So zombies have pretty much gone out of fashion through kind of the late 80s. They become quite cheesy, and basically the Revenge of the Living Dead films have kind of had a big part of that. The brains thing had become really the standard, and so actually the game itself, the Resident Evil games, actually kind of spearheaded a little bit of it, because a lot of the stuff that came out around this time was kind of inspired by it, or the lack thereof of zombies. But for example, like you have 28 Days Later, which is kind of rage zombies, which started the fast zombie trend. The Dawn of the Dead remake, Shaun of the Dead, which fun enough was inspired because of Resident Evil directly, because the scene in space led to the creation of the. Yeah, that led to the creation of that movie. They were kind of part and parcel became the spearheaded of new versions of zombies. And funny enough, the Resident Evil game franchise kind of moved away from zombies at the same time. It was just kind of weird timing.
It did. And the film's always trying to catch up by just having their zombies evolve into plague gas and things like that.
Mm.
James Purefoy, he was in Knight's Tale, wasn't he?
Yeah.
With Heath Ledger.
He was.
So we're about to see the. Oh, there you go. Matt's. You can hear some noises. He's not sure about that. Again, watching this again, some of the shots are quite good. Some I don't always agree with. Sometimes there's some real weird, lingering looks on characters, which I don't agree with. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
There's this weird thing, and I took a bunch of screen grabs as I was going through this for the article. But there's a lot of shots of people just staring at stuff. Yeah. Miller especially does the most. She just literally is quite a lot of blank stares into distance. I don't know. It's obviously direction, but I don't understand what that direction is.
Here we go. First zombie's about to wake up. You can see this coming.
I don't know if you guys, you've seen, obviously a lot of you would have seen the Honest trailers. There's one of the earlier ones they used to do was the Twilight series. They had this section where they just had all the steering in the movie. I swear you could do that exactly the same with this movie. There's a lot of steering.
You're so right. I've never noticed about all these transitions actually just being a way of getting people moving. That's very funny. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
And this was the first kind of mystery. Dining hall B, and you're like, this doesn't look like a dining room. And that was a kind of clue as to what else is going to come.
I like the fact. I think the space for the hall once you get in is really good. That they actually tricked the depth. They only had so many of the tanks that they'd built, so they just basically made cardboard cutouts because it would be costly CG to just expand it out. But it works.
The guy reading the map there missed an opportunity to say, "It's read and write, man. Look."
So one of the things that didn't hold up very well in this, I found, was some of the CGI.
We're going to come to that, absolutely.
Yeah, it's.
I found it very stop motion.
It's just not a lot of budget given to it, and not a very professional. Even at the time it came out, you guys were talking about how you saw the movie. I saw this movie the same day as I saw Spider-Man.
Oh really?
I had free tickets to Spider-Man, and I was supposed to meet a friend for that. And I got into town early and thought, I've got 3 hours to kill, because the screening got pushed. Well, the screening we were supposed to go to was not the first one. It was we were going to miss it, so we pushed it back.
There's our clue. So and I was like, was that a Tyrant? Was it Tyrant or I didn't? You didn't know what it was at that point. This only had a budget of $30 million, so if I remember correctly.
Yeah, somewhere between 30 and 40. I think it came in under budget too. I don't know how that.
These holographic map sections are starting to annoy me.
You're in the right place. Oh, there we go. Yeah, right. Red Queen Chamber.
I'm further behind than you guys by a little bit, so the speed's obviously different depending on which version you're watching.
I've got Alice looking through a window now.
Yeah. This is without doubt the most famous element of the of the entire franchise.
It's the Umbrella Chronicles corridor. It was so nice that Paul Anderson included a sequence from the games in his movie.
I do. the sequence that's coming up also won a Gory Award.
There's no blood in it at all. It's nonsense.
No, I think there was an award ceremony in Germany or something, and it won like best death scene for the year.
Did he cite the influence as being cube then?
I don't know.
That's a serious question. Actually, I don't know because it's nearly the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is blatantly inspired. But that said, I think this, for some reason, this has overtaken the general consciousness because with add the lasers, it is cool.
It is cool. I just think, obviously they needed to get rid of a lot of the cast, which is fine. But they've got a zombie film. They didn't need to do this.
They've just gone to the room with a fucking load of liquors in it. But again, it's budget, isn't it? And
yeah, it's budget.
This is relatively cheap as effects go. This one.
And it's just light bulbs, isn't it? And added. It's very clever.
It's mirrored glass and light bulbs and
yeah.
But I mean, the Umbrella Chronicles corridor is the same, isn't it? It's directly lifted.
Oh yes, I mean we talk about Umbrella Chronicles and Operation Raccoon City and all the ones that take various parts of this. The movie franchise.
I mean, I suppose the biggest influence of this movie on the games is the Red Queen.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, albeit it's used completely differently. But...
I think these films were very popular in Japan, weren't they? Which is why. Although Capcom have always refused to put Alice in the games, haven't they?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very thankful for.
I am actually surprised they still haven't done, even just as a bonus costume or something. It's actually, that is more surprising to not put her in the games, but an outfit that matches, say, the red dress.
There's a Alyssa Ashcroft in Outbreak. She has this dress.
Yeah, but it's not the same as putting it as a bonus costume.
Here we go. Here comes the
the music again.
Come on, man.
Yep.
It was at this point I was literally sat in the cinema thinking, what am I fucking watching? I'm supposed to be watching like a monster movie.
I know. I thought I'd walked in the wrong screen.
Wasn't for all the Umbrella logos on boxes.
Yeah.
It's like Dino Crisis with the Umbrella logos. I was like, I thought, what are they going to show here?
We've lost the medic. I was rooting for her. She's so well characterised in the first half.
This is where who was saying that they were like, it's good to kill off the characters.
Am I right in thinking that don't these bodies disappear later in the movie?
But
they do.
They pointed out. They pointed out, and I think it's actually a reference to the games how the zombie corpses disappear when you come back.
See, that looked quite realistic with the fingers chopped off and the head. I know the head wouldn't fall like that, but that was still quite a cool moment.
The CG for the death scenes in this is alright. It's more the zombie.
Colin Salmon is trying so hard here to keep this movie together.
You're rooting for him.
Yeah.
Come on, Colin.
I think it's actually a look of relief on his face when he knows he's going to get chopped up.
Shit.
Thank fuck.
This scene is so cool. Look at it, that white dripping. Oh yeah, loved it, love it.
As we're saying, killing off characters you haven't even established yet is I was just thinking, does that point man get any more lines than what's that? Like when he sees the first person, it's literally it.
And he does it quite poorly. He could have actually done it better.
But he does the same.
Continuity too.
He does the same thing in Alien vs Predator, though. He has nothing happens for 50 minutes. That's his version of characterization. Just characters walking around doing nothing.
and then maps. Yeah. Right,
here comes Kaplan. Yeah.
Kaplan gets the most characterization out of them easily.
There's some good. Yeah, if you look carefully, you can see all the gore and the blood. That's quite cool. But not bleeding anywhere. It's been a perfect.
It
reminds we cauterize it. Exactly.
It reminds me of the scene from Ghost Ship, at the very beginning of that, when it with that.
Oh yeah.
They're all cutting off and they still carry on dancing for a minute. And that's not even a laser. That's a
cable, isn't it?
Cable or something. Anyway. We forgot to mention that they've already. I can't remember if they already said it. They talk about it modelled on the head programmer's daughter.
Yeah, because
And
it's
you go,
not even a biological weapon, is it? It's a medical thing, isn't it? The T-verse.
Which they massively retconned in the last movie too.
Yeah, they change a lot of the backstory in the final chapter, don't they?
Yeah. But to be fair, I can actually argue that it's not actually much of a retcon. We're just going off what they're saying is potential. It's hearsay, basically. They heard that it was waddled off because that was what the information was that was given to them. Doesn't actually make it true. So
remind us then, who is this? Who is the Red Queen modelled after? Because I always assumed it was the little girl from Apocalypse.
in the end, it is a clone of the real Alice.
Right.
I think, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to remember as well.
So we're nearly 40 minutes in almost, and apart from a few name drops to Umbrella, this could be a completely different franchise.
For the most part, yeah. And the virus itself.
Well, we've had the train,
zombies.
names.
With the train, yeah. And the zombies eventually, obviously. But
I can't remember if the word Ashford is mentioned.
No,
that's later, isn't it? That's in the second film. This is a cool moment. Oh god. Yeah.
The girl is suitably creepy, I have to admit.
She's probably the best Red Queen because they constantly change the actress, obviously, because she gets old.
Yeah.
She's quite good at this. Anyway, now they've done it. Now they've stopped the power. Idiots.
I do actually think the CG for the Red Queen is quite good.
Yeah, that holds up by today's standard.
It's supposed to be a laser projection. So.
And then if you look carefully, you can just see the first zombie shadow here. And as the blue light comes on, if you look to your... Hold on. Yeah, just in the in the right-hand side, you can see it. It's gone now. There he is. Yeah. Anyway, so now, yes, you're right. It's quite a long time in, 40 minutes in, and we haven't really had any death by munching.
Well, it's interesting because this is a zombie film, but there's only actually one character in the entire film that gets killed by zombies.
2.
1.
3. JD.
That's it.
Rain
technically gets bitten twice.
Yeah,
but
she just turns.
Yeah. But she doesn't get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no some budget for that. It's not hard for the thing about zombies in new Romero's films prove it. You can do them in numbers just by having extras. They have actually a large number of zombie cast in this. It's just nobody actually gets killed by them.
It just makes it bizarre. Why would you wipe off half your cast with an unrelated laser scene as it was then?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, seems silly. Perhaps he's been inspired by Jaws a bit because you never see the shark at all for such a long time. I thought, we'll delay it. Anyway,
again, there's no point in a zombie movie to hide your zombies because
there we go.
They're not a malfunctioning shark.
I suppose some people would argue the same of Aliens, though, and not half the Marines get wiped out by an explosion, don't they? In the first battle.
It's just a Anderson trend. It's like subversion of what you expect that movie's going to be,
that
but
almost makes
not in a good way.
All intentional. He's a brilliant filmmaker.
I'm not saying brilliant. I'm just saying maybe it's intentional, but it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
There we go. Rain's had her first bite. She's had not a bad zombie.
You've got a gun and somebody comes towards you. You should probably shoot it earlier, to be honest.
He's gonna. What guns he got? Don't know. I think this is a genuine reaction. Shoot him in the leg.
Yeah, that's.
You wouldn't want, even if you're a commander, you wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, there you go. Submachine gun causing a backdraft somehow.
It's a chain rip, like you can tell. Someone's obviously yanked on.
You're a few seconds ahead of me, I think.
Sync will be different.
Yes, you are. Yeah, I could just hear you.
Bitch isn't standing now.
That is actually a pretty good line, actually.
And then she's gone, and they'll notice her get up and walk away. And
They do notice eventually.
This is probably the best shot in the film, actually. The guy who comes with the broken ankle and the axe.
Yes, he's a professional dancer.
I reckon the best shot in the film actually is when they're walking back through what was the flooded lab, and Alice has her flashback to the virus stuff, and there's a reflection of her looking into the lab as if while they're doing the testing. You'll see it when it comes out. I reckon that's the best shot in the entire movie.
How did they not see her get up and go though? First?
No, exactly. Yeah.
Fucking nonsense.
Oh, that CG is terrible. Ugh.
There we go. So they can just hear the noise. Yeah. So this we're about to see. Here he is. So this is he's a professional dancer with his axe, and he, according to the commentary, he can do that to his leg, which is disgusting. Some of them look like they're from outcasts from a Thriller video. He looks quite good with a half-bitten face.
Yeah, the CG's still not great. The one. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say there's no need to CGI zombies' wounds. Bloody hell.
Oh, there she is again. Oh, she's up now.
More of their face.
Oh, she's back. She's up.
The one of the cool things I will say about these zombies that they did really well is that it's a little bit of an extra on the DVD and the Blu-ray is about how they studied the actual effects of viruses on people's eyes and skin and stuff, and it's very impressive makeup when you actually get to see the proper makeup test with the eyes. The problem is you don't see any of this very well, except for I think Rain near the end. You see her eyes and you can see what's happened to her eyes.
I remember commenting that I like the fact that they play up on it later with Matt's sister. I like the fact that they're not completely decomposed because there's no reason for them to be decomposed. They're kind of in still very much an early state, so they look quite human, but clearly something not quite right. I thought that that worked quite well, and obviously that saved on costs. They didn't have to have them completely decomposed.
God, there really is no blood in this film, isn't there?
There's some people on fire at some point shortly, and a few fake blood splatters and a little bit of blood here and there, but not very much.
Right, there's the first flashback. I like it, just before that flashback, you see a bit of glass land directly on Mila's face. But clearly there's something in front of her to stop it. I don't know what it is. There we go. It's all very heavy Marilyn Manson music again, isn't it? Mm. Oh, look, it's Johnny Vegas. It's a Johnny Vegas DVD zombie. I can't have been the only one that thought that. He looks just like him.
Didn't you know this is what he did before? He was.
I don't know. He looks like him. He's like. Where's Johnny Vegas?
Chris Redfield punching a boulder in 5 clearly comes second to Eric Mabus somehow finding that key in a drain and uncuffing himself while the zombie's trying to while he's on fire.
While he's on fire, exactly. And then he's on fire as well. Yeah.
Come on, man.
And you forgot that the hands and the key were slippery too. So.
Yeah. What a human. What a man. That's
the claw. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now's our first clue as to there's something else.
Well, it's not our first clue. We've seen the interior shots of it. There's growing something in there, but
I will say at least they keep the actual look of it for now authentic.
Mm.
What is the code?
It's 2236.
I remember this later because they got the new. And the Dawn of the Dead reference.
Oh dear. This was nice. This is good.
Oh no, she gets bitten there as well too.
Yeah, she's screwed most of the time. Don't let go.
Three whites.
You guys are ahead of me. See, if we were half professional, we'd all be watching the same version here.
I've got a little bit of a cheat, I had to go forward a little bit. I would be way behind the PAL versions. Obviously, much slower.
Yeah, we come. CG. This was the first bit that made me cringe, I think, in the film. I was like, oh, that doesn't look good. And it honestly, it looks like something out of Clash of the Titans.
This is the first. This is the first bit that made you cringe.
It was. It really was. I was like, oh, that didn't look good. But it's a liquor, so we know we've got the liquor.
I like the way. So after JD gets killed, what happens to the thousands of zombies that were there?
Oh my god, it doesn't look great, does it? It look a fucking hell.
Yeah. So it's weird, yeah. It almost does look kind of stop motion.
I remember it looking much better than that as well.
It looks. To be fair, it is just that scene. I think some of the other scenes look a bit better. When he's on the roof, that looks okay.
I do like the shot when
terrible.
you get a quick glimpse of it scuttling across the wall and it leaves claw marks behind. It's quite cool.
Yeah. Anyway, they're back in the. Yeah, they've mentioned where are the bodies.
So what is the explanation for that?
There isn't one. It's just that where are the bodies.
There isn't one. It's a reference to the games, and Anderson's literally, I think they talk about it in the commentary. Because when you kill zombies, even though you've killed the body, you go back and you come back into the room and they're gone.
Not in remake.
That's fine in a fucking video game.
Yeah. I think that's what he talks about anyway. Except for, remake was coming out the same year.
Yeah, it was.
To be fair.
Oh, there's our first clue that
They're a
dogs.
bit hard on Kaplan there. He wasn't really to know, was he?
No. Yeah, but he takes shoulders a little of the blame, which is unfortunate.
So somehow Mila's got separated. And again, you question why they have Doberman guard dogs deep underground.
It was around this point in the movie, people, my despair hits pure rock bottom.
This upcoming scene, you mean?
Yeah.
This is such a cool moment.
Oh my! See,
It's
Nick,
not
ladies
cool
and
at
gentlemen, Nick.
But listen, you got they get the sound effects. They got the sound of the dog is spot on, just right from the game.
Yeah,
It's
that's
played
fine.
Nick, explain to me, what's the control in the original PlayStation version for wall running and fly kicking Cerberus?
Well, if you had the Resident Evil controller, then it you hit the turbo button, you could do that.
That'd be awesome. The dogs look pretty good. They're CG augmented. There's puppets and there's actual dogs covered in stuff, which apparently was really difficult to work with, which isn't surprising. They just wanted to lick it off.
I have a slight story. I nearly had an actual model they used from the film as a prop. I nearly got hold of it. My cousin worked for Frame Store, which is a big CGI. They do big films.
These revelations, they never stop, Nick.
This isn't from Frame. Frame Store did not do this, but he had a friend that worked for the company that whoever did the CG, the kind of special effects for it, and he went to visit their offices, and he went into their showing a tour, and in the back cupboard there was a Cerberus from the film, and he said, my cousin is a massive Resident Evil fan, can I have it? And they were umming and ahhing about giving it to me, and I was like, oh my god, if you had got me that would have been the best thing in the world, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. I did get a framed photograph, a framed picture of the post of the I'm ruining it, everyone, now, because there we go. Look, here comes the dog. Okay, I'll finish it once we've had the cool moment.
He's already been kicking of the security guards bad enough, and then.
But then at the time, when this came out, the idea of sort of melee attacking zombies and that was ridiculous, and I remember I was fucking raging. But like now, it's commonplace in the games.
Yeah.
There's a question. There's a question there though. Is that because of the movie, or is it because of the way the games have been?
I mean, turn kicking a zombie into something it's not uncommon. What is the plural?
Well, that started with
Cerberus.
Cerberus, yeah.
Cerberus, good. Boom! Look at that. Great through the glass.
I do like the little touch with the umbrella brand on the bullet as well. So
yeah, that was the Matrix moment.
Oh yeah, that's Anderson's biggest problem throughout all these movies.
And this
so yes,
Matrix references.
Everybody.
I'll continue my story.
Oh my god, this is it. This is cinema
It's
history.
just staring.
Look at this.
And then it's topped off by her staring off into distance, thinking about what she's just done.
Yeah.
I'll finish my story quickly. Yeah. So what I did get, I didn't get the Cerberus dog model, but I did get a picture which was sent to all the production team of the poster, showing how much money it had made at all around the world, of being *1 box office in United Arab Emirates, Japan, Australia, all that kind of stuff. And then it said on it, pre-production has already begun for Resident Evil 2. But it's actually called Resident Evil 2 at that point, and not Resident Evil Apocalypse. So I've still got that. So I have no idea how much that's worth, if anything. But it was an internal release.
It actually devalued more.
Doesn't Eric Mabus look thrilled to be in this film?
Well, I think this is the scene where I was talking about that commentary earlier, where they're talking about yogurt. They're like, Eric, your motivation is yogurt. There's yogurt behind this. It's yogurt in the straw, or something like that.
The zombie against the glass. That's the producer, Jeremy Bolt, isn't he?
Oh yes, I see you're fun of it as well.
The arsehole who said Capcom set Resident Evil 5 in Africa because Resident Evil's extinction was set in the desert.
They all said that, though, to be fair. Miller said that too.
See, I like this. So we've got Matt's sister now, not quite human, not quite zombie. She's kind of halfway house. Either she just had a big night out and is a bit worse for wear, or is she an undead? I thought this was quite a nice one. Lisa, another reference there, of course, to Lisa Trevor.
Was it really? Even though she
I have no
wasn't in
idea.
the picture at this point, would she? Because this was pre-remake. Was it just?
Yeah.
I think there's not. I'm sure there's a special feature on the DVD where they're actually being interviewed as the play and the remake. I'm sure there is.
It would have been about the same time it was coming out.
The remake in PAL regions was September 2000.
Yeah, but the Japan one was March. So about the same time this came out, actually, because this came out. The earliest release is around April. I remember them about the same time. It's worth noting again, I was talking about the Alice in Wonderland references, the paperweight that used has got Alice in Wonderland references over it. You don't see that, of course.
It's interesting, this conversation, though, where he's talking about how much the T-virus would be worth if it got out on the black market. That was quite yeah, it is a foreshadowing, yeah.
Oh, it's the cleverest observation about this entire potential.
I always thought...
sorry, continue.
I was just going to say when he said valuable, and they make a point of going to someone. I always thought Wesker. I thought they were hinting at.
It would have been a good way to get that in, but that's not the way Anderson went and said. He goes,
no.
What's the fifth one, where the company's been selling biological weapons that basically to differing countries in an attempt to create some sort of war, but it's stupid because your customers would cease to exist. Yeah, so who would you sell to? And the technology they have to make these underground cities is far more interesting than the virus.
I know. So this is why I praise the game so much. You know, the games have had so many different writers, so many different directors and yet it more or less holds together. The Resident Evil movies have had one fucking writer, and the retcons between the movies are ridiculous.
Oh, you go from like the third one where it turns into a Mad Max sandy wasteland, and you see an overlay map of how hot the world got, and then all of a sudden there's snow in the.
Yeah.
I mean, did they actually explain away why the world turns to desert and then it's not an afterlife?
T-virus.
T-virus clears the sand up.
Because zombies.
It was their biggest mistake having the extinction vibe going on, because it made all the others seem wildly out of place.
Weirdly though, the third one's probably my favourite because I actually went into it thinking, right, this clearly isn't Resident Evil.
Decent director too, isn't it? Russell Mulcahy or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
A Highlander guy.
Yeah.
The action sequences are really good in that one, actually. I actually have I have a soft spot for the fifth one, just simply because by that point I had any pretense of it being any relation to the rest was was definitely well out the window. But the action sequences in that are pretty good as well. And Anderson's actually shoots really well because he shot it with the 3D cameras from Avatar.
I do.
And he actually frames it really well. But unlike the last one, it's edited properly as well.
I do have a soft spot for Sienna Guillory as Jill.
Of course.
She's really good.
Yeah, it's very good casting. Yeah.
I am eager to see the fourth and/or fifth one again in 3D because it's one of the few films, as you said, one of the few films that were actually done in 3D, and they are generally praised for being quite good in that sense. Not to talk about the quality of the film.
But anyway, we'll get to those.
Yes, we will.
Where are we in this?
The back of the.
I'm conscious we're a
Well,
little
I was about to say.
so.
I was about to say the fact is that the zombies at this point only turn up when they're plot necessary, and it's supposed to be like a random zombie. So they come back to the Red Queen hallway and they're being chased and they're zombies. Lisa turned up when Matt's looking around. Just conveniently, it's his sister right when he was looking. Yet no other zombies except for the producer zombie, who's stuck behind the glass. Like they're all very zombies of convenience at this point. It's a fortunate trait of lazy writing.
Inserting a 80s VHS player here into
I wasn't so old in 2002.
At this point, because you've got Rain explaining a bit of information about what the Red Queen did, it's suggesting that she knew quite a lot about what was happening anyway.
It's like they're all briefed, but then, they only dole out the information as they need to. But again, sorry, bad writing. Like,
it seems very odd.
It makes sense coming from the commander that he'd be in charge and he'd only dole out the information he need to, but then you killed him off. So this is the problem. They all become exposition machines beforehand. That's basically Colin Salmon's role is basically exposition. His 3 scenes are all...
Rebooting the Red Queen.
Does Rain get the only F-bomb there as well?
I think so, yeah.
Let's just, while we're having this exposition scene, Miljokovic then. Do you guys rate her at all as an actress, or?
I actually think she's quite good.
I think she's good at what she does.
I liked her as Lilu.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I remember I'd seen Fulfillment, and I was thinking Lilu, and I think the only other thing I'd seen her in before this was the year before was Zoolander, and so I was quite pleasantly surprised she's actually, a pretty good actress, all things considered. And she's pretty game for action stuff. That becomes more apparent as the series went on. When
I was at work the other day on my lunch break, they had the Three Musketeers on TV. Which I've never seen before. Films. And she was quite good in that, in the slow scenes. Then all of a sudden she sort of like rips her dress off, so she's only wearing a corset, and turns into Alice and starts fly kicking everyone.
That's Anderson for you, isn't it? It's his film, so. Nope, here's some more.
The need to feed.
The exposition.
Yeah, the Red Queen basically fills Colin Salmon's role in this after he's dead. She starts spouting all the information you need to know. Which is weird, because there's no reason for her to tell them all this.
No. Because she can't. She's homicidal, but she's kind of doing it for the. I don't know whether she's doing it for the best.
I guess at the end of the day, she's still a computer, and she complies to the idea that she's supposed to tell people information or provide services. Still, this is the whole crux of everyone's complaint when the first casting call came out, and they talked about a supercomputer gone crazy or whatever it was. It's like, what does this have to do with Resident Evil?
Well, I suppose if they didn't have the supercomputer, they just had to have had, a mad scientist to explain all this.
Which probably would have been better.
Yeah, I have to admit, actually probably would have been better. As cliche as it was.
Sewer's scene.
Yes, see, another reference. I love it. It's great.
The thing is as well, Anderson's. I'm going to go down this tangent because it needs to mention as well, talking about aliens and all this sort of stuff. Anderson's big defense was that, he was like, it's predictable to put the characters in from the games, and the plot line was all very predictable. The problem is, everything he does with this movie is predictable. It's not like he reinvented the wheel, so you might as well have had something that was more faithful
than this.
And he argues. I think as part of the fan backlash, because as I said, there was this backlash to the casting call, and it was clearly on the internet. And I'm pretty confident that he saw or heard about it, because one of the things he mentions on the there's an EPK kind of behind the scenes thing, and originally I think it's on the disc as well, but originally it released on I think it was on PS World magazine or one of the magazines on the DVD was a little bit behind the scenes of the movie, making of the movie. And there's a scene with him talking, and he's basically, I think I quoted it in the article I wrote for this several years back, but he's basically saying, he's a fan of the games and all this sort of stuff, but he says I could turn it into an all singing, all dancing piece of crap, basically, to paraphrase. But he says he doesn't, because he does like the games, but he says, that he had approached Capcom and he talked to the rights owners about what they wanted to make of the franchise, and that they wanted it to be different. That was the kind of the point. But it's funny because he backtracks on it, obviously, because the later games, the later movies make more references to the games, more characters appear, and all that sort of stuff.
Zombies suddenly appear.
So go on.
Yeah, again, zombies of convenience. There's the upcoming scene where Miller snaps the zombies.
Yeah, I was going to say at this point in the cinema, 15 years ago, I was literally, I'm not making this up, head in hands at what I was watching. When I started seeing neck breaking zombies and turn kicking.
I'm sure that extra was absolutely thrilled between Miller's legs.
I would have been thrilled.
And they recreated that for Umbrella Chronicles, didn't they? They had Jill doing it.
Yeah.
Can't escape.
But that's what annoys me though, because it's like Anderson's making his own original film, but
there's some slow-mo in this. I forgot about that too.
He's using the Resident Evil name to boost the numbers, because all the films have been financially successful, but they're all shit.
And it's sure the last one actually wasn't. Funnily enough, of all of them, the last one made the least amount of money.
But it's I don't know. I mean, even Soldier, that's a shit.
Yeah, this is the thing though. This is the thing though. This is I didn't talk about this during the commentary, but I've talked about it before in the past. Is that you have to have justification of source. So realistically, here the justification is you have Umbrella, you have zombies, certainly, but you could create an entirely new movie around that concept, and it has nothing to do with Resident Evil. So you've got the Red Queen supercomputer, you've got this aliens-esque, security team, they've got an amnesiac character. They're all none of the stuff to do with the game. So the little things that are in there, like the liquor, the zombies, the Umbrella Corporation, they're the only tentative ties, and they justify the connection to what the game is.
I like that scene of the blood dripping onto the zombies. That was quite good. So this whole sequence coming up is quite
despair pretty well.
Yeah, and this is quite tense. They're crawling on these old tubes.
Yeah, but the zombies don't even look like they're fucking trying. The extras are literally just running their hands along it, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's what zombies were like. We forget though. If this was released now, these zombies would be doing triple backflips to get up there. But back then, their mind is kind of.
Is it tense though, Nick? Because you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is
garbage.
This is the problem. It isn't tense. That's the thing. Right from the get-go, as I said, a lot of the pretense of suspense goes out the window, and because you're expecting
everything. The support's breaking, and
yeah, exactly. This is the thing. Yeah,
it's like
I have to admit, the shot in the pipe is very well hidden. I wouldn't have got the scene to begin with.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I do actually like them crawling the pipes with the zombies kind of following them. I do think that's a kind of cool shot. I just wouldn't have had all this cliche bit with the pipe falling and them being split up.
Miller manages to not get bitten at all.
Again, convenience of plot.
Well, yes, then.
Because Kaplan's going to die next because he's only a bit part player. Rain's going to last to the end because she's going to turn into zombie. Spencer's the bad guy.
No. See, the thing is, you just say Kaplan's going to die next. We actually doesn't die next, and that actually is more cliche because that's exactly what when I was first watching this the first time was like Kaplan gets separated, and it's like he's going to end up looking like he's going to die, but he's not going to die, and he's the one that comes back and actually saves the day, and that's exactly what happens. Because unfortunately, the cliche is the reversal at this point.
But
he's lived such something.
It's just like when a zombie needs to bite Michelle Rodriguez, it's the first thing it does as soon as it comes around the corner or whatever. There was 10 of them around Kaplan there, and they were just sort of feeling him with their hands.
And same with Miller when she's being dangled off the side, yeah.
Isn't that Stormtrooper shooting syndrome?
Yeah, but this
Yeah,
is a zombie horror movie, though. It's not about, like, heroes,
your
is
point,
it? Running away from ridiculous circumstances. I mean, you know, Star Wars is a fantasy film at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, the point would be not to put if you don't want your main actress to look like she's going to get bitten, then don't put her in the pretense of danger. That's literally it. So don't dangle her because, it breaks it. We're talking about the breaking of illusion. You get taken out of the film when you start thinking about these things rather than enjoying the film for what it is.
If the audience at home wants to see this exact storyline done well, then just watch Aliens.
And think that the aliens are zombies. All right, cool.
I can't remember, later in the film. I think it's Matt's character. He gets the right cop of Michelle Rodriguez's breasts. If you look as he picks her up, you can see him.
I'm gonna make a I'm gonna make a really good statement about Kaplan's scene here, though. I do like this scene with Kaplan's like determination and then resolve and then his frustration and then you're gonna work for your dinner. Whatever it is, the line, it's really good. I do actually.
But the thing is,
what I don't like is the cutaway shot of Miller when he hears the gunshot is terrible.
Is that an Aliens reference there? The fingers through the vent.
Maybe.
He tells them all to go on without him, plays the hero, but if he actually sat and thought about it for 2 minutes, he could probably find a way across.
Which he does, obviously, in the end. That's how he escapes. But that's a fair. I don't think that's an unfair character decision. I think that's legitimate. You might do that at the time.
I think someone's well behind. We're about to see the liquor now. There's JD. JD's dead. That's a cool shot with the claws. We're coming up to the scene that you talked about, Rob.
Yeah, there's a shot after in the flashback that is a nice reflection shot of Miller while she's looking into the lab. It's a very nice shot actually. Probably the best one in this movie, I think.
I do vaguely remember them saying this was one of the most expensive shots of the film. It transitions into the flashback.
Because it's motion controlled camera, it has to match the environment.
And then when she goes, there's a cure. And then I find Rain's comment, I was beginning to worry. It was quite funny.
There it is. That's the shot. I don't know if you guys have seen it already, but it's really nice. Pull focus, reflection, very good. It's not an easy shot to do. With two different light sources.
Yeah, the kind of removal. It's almost like the opposite of Silent Hill, isn't it? Where it coming from. And then I like the theme music kind of creeps in. That kind of. It's good.
Why did they get the virus colours the wrong way around though?
Because they weren't paying attention, or they thought that the green was more interesting as a.
You were talking earlier about an interview with Paul Anderson. I've also remember an interview where he actually says he is the biggest fan.
Oh
of
yeah,
of the games. He actually says you will struggle to find a bigger fan than me of the Resident Evil series. He actually says that shit.
He says the exact same thing about Alien and Predator as well. He says you'll be hard pressed to find anyone who's watched them films as many times as I have.
Would you believe it if I said I actually like AVP less than this?
You like AVP less than this movie?
I do.
Yeah, I like
AVP.
I like
for
AVP.
me, ruined 2 franchises in one go.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, but also it's actually a poorer produced film than this film. I think this film's a better crafted film, actually, visually and stylistically. AVP is just you can't even tell what's happening in most of the fight scenes. So this is actually coherent.
You can't get much more unexpected than a bloody pyramid in the Antarctic.
No.
I love how Prometheus and all these have pretty much retconned that entire potential out of existence.
No, if Covenant only did one good thing, it's that.
Yeah. There you go, look, he's having I think he gets a cop now. There you go. Look, he has a nice little cop of her boobs. Subtle.
You
I think
really
they
are,
mention,
mate.
I think they mention it in the commentary actually.
And why
remember
wouldn't you?
correctly.
Nick? Why wouldn't you?
Well, why not? Why not? Also, take note when they're looking at the video monitor coming up with the liquor, and Matt goes, "What the fuck was that?" or something like that. You can clearly
there
see
is a.
Yeah, his mouth isn't moving at all.
I think
It's
they
been just
redubbed
put
it
in.
because it wasn't going to be a. Yeah. They
Yeah.
added an ADR because they could get away with the rating with another swear word.
Here we go. So here's the flashback.
Where the handwriting doesn't match, as we pointed out earlier. Also, I just want to, for people who are tech people, that microphone thing he's holding is not actually a recording device, it's actually just a boom mic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
thank you, Rob.
It's literally a boom mic. Which is fine, because that's how props work in Artifice. It tells you what it is, you don't need to know that.
Shit. Is it Spence who lets the virus out?
How do we know this? It wasn't because he had a leather jacket on.
Handwriting not matching there. I do like the shot back to his finger twitching as he throws it.
Guy looks at the camera. I hate that. The guy with the coffee gets spilled looks at the camera. Drives me.
Thank you.
Thank you. But then he looks dead at the camera on that tape.
He takes the spoiling of boiling coffee, the spilling of boiling coffee over him quite well, actually.
Oh, he does look at the camera.
Thank you. And then yeah.
This is actually the point in the movie where James Purefoy looks like he's actually having fun because he gets to sort of just go full villain.
Villain and be a real jerk, yeah.
His line delivery is quite good here.
Yeah, he's great. He's done some truly great work in his career. I'd like to have seen him as V, actually, before he pulled out that production.
I thought did he not actually play V and Hugo Weaving just voiced him?
He did the first bit of filming, didn't he? I don't think he did all of it.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I was just going to say, I do enjoy the fact that Miller fully commits to trying to jump in for that gun into the water. It's clearly clear, not the stunt person.
What else has Eric Mabius or whatever been in? I've never seen him in anything else.
He was in
Ugly
TV.
Betty.
Yeah, TV.
He was in Cruel Intentions with Sarah Michelle Gellar, wasn't he?
Is he?
Oh, he was too,
Your
yeah.
hero, Sean.
Who does he play in that?
I can't remember. I only watched that film for one scene.
I like Cruel Intentions. It's a great movie.
It
like
is,
Wild.
actually. It's not bad. It is quite good.
Okay, so Spence, yeah. Listen, you're ready. We'll be like these quotes.
Again, zombie of convenience. You know,
Yeah.
only
Is that-
got up.
Is that a Dawn of the Dead inspired moment?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's a nice, and visually it looks cool coming out of the water. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just of convenience. Again, they've been standing around in here for like how long, and
Paul Anderson loves doing that flip focus of someone holding an implement toward the camera, doesn't he? He does it
Yeah.
a lot.
it's a lot. But it's not a bad thing. For making a point, he's holding a gun, and you've gone from his conversation to the impact of the gun. That's actually a pretty standard move to pull focus on that.
Fuck off.
Just, unfortunately overuses it.
Fuck off.
The lighting in the scene, in fact, there you go. I'll praise it. That the water is actually quite
Water reflection.
well done.
It's reflective, but it isn't distracting. Yeah. Also, they consider this a divorce line, which pays off later on. Is really good. I do like that. How that monitor is still working, I don't know. That's the other part, because this whole room was originally flooded, and then
It
all
was
of a sudden-
completely flooded.
and you can see that the screen has like water on it or water damage, and then all of a sudden it's working again.
He's
There we go.
got
So
back to the train station, no problem at all.
No more zombies. Yeah. No liquor at first.
This is obviously directly out of the Resident Evil 2 on the wall. So the shit was almost shot for shot on the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't look bad. I think it looks quite good here. 'Cause,
I made a joke about this in the write-up that James Purfoy looks like he knows what he's doing with the virus.
He does.
Pop. Yes, get that cocaine in, yeah.
Yes, shoot up some heroin. That's.
Although he misses, like he completely.
You see the ironic thing here, though. He's sat there all quiet, not making a sound, so the licker wouldn't even know he was there if Paul Anderson knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. Only previously that it would have heard him being somewhere nearby, but then it goes straight for him. Well, he does talk, to be fair.
That doesn't look bad. That looks much better than it did.
When it first appeared, it's not great, but it's not bad.
I like the way it takes a moment to look at the camera.
Yeah, it turns. Yeah. I feel like that's a reference to the zombie turning over its shoulder, but it's maybe I'm pushing that.
This bit made me have an aneurysm in the cinema. Because bearing in mind, I was completely against the movie from the get-go. So when the Red Queen says it turns into a much more powerful hunter, I took that literally.
Oh no!
I was like, you fucking joking. They're not going to literally make the licker a hunter now for the final sequence.
I did think this is where the
morph is pretty cool.
Yeah, but this is where I felt the film made its first real big mistake. Its
first big mistake?
How far
into
the
we're over an hour into
18
it,
minutes. Hour and
Nick's
18 minutes.
finally starting to step off the train.
First big mistake. Brilliant.
It was, because it makes a bit of a mockery in. I don't know. They should have just kept it as a liquor rather than whatever it becomes.
It had to be bigger for the final climax. I think again this is very different than the. I can't remember if the DNA thing's in the draft script I read.
Yeah, that did annoy me. Directly injecting.
The draft script had a sequence instead of the train. It was a lift. It was like the transport lift in Resident Evil 2 instead, with the slightly elevated. Oh, and Zero as well, where the licker attacked. But I think it was wooden instead of metal. And the licker falls and gets impaled or crushed or something. I can't remember.
I forget. Oh, really? Michelle Rodriguez went on to do Avatar after this as well.
Maybe that's because this is James Cameron's guilty pleasure.
Well, there we go.
She went in. She was in Lost as well, playing exactly the same character.
She was, yeah, Anna Lucia. Yeah, very good.
And it's also worth noticing she got amnesia in the Fast and Furious series, but she didn't obviously have in this, but Alice's character does.
Oh.
Things turned up.
It's the weird dog thing now.
Yeah, I always thought
this weird dog kind of thing.
They could have evolved it a bit into like the mutated liquor from RE2, the lab, the.
Instead, they go them almost like a Birkin morph.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Let's pretend to kill our friend and then not do it.
I don't know. Miller does a thing, or Alice does a thing where she smashes the axe against the screen because it's going to do what?
Yeah.
It's just, nothing. It's just perfectly timed.
It's just stopping it, and then it just happens to be right when Kaplan fries the thing, and it seems like, she did this by smashing a screen. What?
Plot alert. Who's turned her off?
It's Wesker.
To be fair, they should have actually, rather than have the liquor, they should have just had maybe Spence turn into a kind of like tyrant type creature or something. I think it did make it miss a tyrant.
Save that joy for the third movie.
Well, I know.
Yeah. And then retcon that too later on.
Yeah.
Oh, CGI.
Yeah, that's poor.
The water splashes are physical.
We're going to need a bigger axe, she should have said there.
Where's this dance music suddenly come from?
We're in a German techno underground rave.
Oh, some blood there.
Yeah, there's some blood.
Actually, rewatching this, aside from like Michelle Rodriguez's F-bomb, this isn't much more than a PG-13 in places, is it? Let's be honest.
No, and is that the copy? No, it's not a copy here again.
Was this R-rated in America, Rombie? Do you know?
I think it was, because I think that's the reason why they were able to put more swearing in, because there's more than one F-bomb. Yeah, it was R, I think.
That's
they've
good.
kind of gone back
that's
and
good.
put more blood in.
It's a 15 in the UK, and it's a very, very light one at that.
Very light.
Because
But then
15,
you gotta remember-
I mean, even back in the day when this came out, the 15 was... You expected a lot more in a 15. I mean, 15s now are like 20 years ago 18s.
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's age too. You know, what was this been rated at the time in 2002, early 2002?
Got to remember, Michael Jackson's Thriller's still a 15 in the UK.
Yeah, but a lot of movies have
Well,
been down,
is
like Aliens, Die Hard. They've all been downgraded to a 15.
Yeah, even Terminator, because I went and saw Terminator 2 on the 3D re-release, and I remember when I was young, that was, you know, the rating on that was much higher. Now, you know.
The original Terminator's a 15 now, and it was an 18.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being petrified at Terminator 2 with the scene with the milk.
Yeah, I can confirm
oh.
it was an R in the States.
The BBFC have come along quite well, actually, in the last few years, in terms of how relaxed they are. It's more the studios now that are doing sort of self-imposed cuts to get the 12 rating.
That happened a lot in the mid-2000s, especially. In New Zealand, it's R16 for horror scenes and violence.
Bloody hell, that's quite high for this.
I think it's because we don't really... Oh, we have a 15, but it's very rarely used. It's specifically, there's a 13 and a 15R. The 13 came with Saving Private Ryan, and there's a 15, which I've seen only in a handful of things. 16 is pretty much the standard.
There's Eric
got to remember-
doing his John McClane impression.
Yeah. It's good. It's also so that he can get his arm torn by the just convenient.
You've also got to remember that New Zealand's pinnacle horror film is the Black Sheep franchise.
No. Brain
dead.
Jackson's brain dead. Easily. Jackson's brain dead.
I like how Michelle. So they're about to be injected with the antivirus. No guarantee this will work. You've noticed Michelle Rodriguez
the big promotional shot they used, didn't they?
It was. I'm not dead yet. Yeah. Unnecessary.
See, that would probably make her pull the fucking trigger, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Then she would have made more sense if the gun went off to the side of her or something like that.
I have to say, I was very disappointed that Eric Mabius actually got attacked. I thought he and Mila were going to survive.
He's my least. Yeah. He's my least favorite actor in this. Actually, that's why I couldn't remember his name before. He's just he's a soap opera level actor in this.
And I felt sorry for Kaplan. Oh, he did so much.
Yeah. There's so much just to get ripped out by the liquor.
I hate that. I hate the sort of baiting and switching though, where they threaten to kill a character off, they come back and they survive, and then just fucking kill him off anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it just feels like such a waste. And all the camera's done there for about, a minute now is just circle Miljokovic non-stop.
Yeah.
But it's
cutting. I made this comment as well that the sparks add production value. They're just sparking for no reason.
Moment.
Yeah.
Oh, put that.
Whether you like it or not, guys, 2 Resident Evil games in the same year after this, both Zero and Dead Aim did that same shot.
They did. Zero especially was pretty criminal for it. There we go.
Dead
So
Aim
the
isn't
liquor.
bad, though.
Use the convenient.
It's the pipes, yeah. The Chekhov's gun.
Convenient
firing at
pipes. Yeah, exactly. Convenience. My name is Steel Pipe.
Ooh, tongue to the face.
Oh, there's rain.
Ooh.
I'm
Pipes
surprised
through
this
the tongue.
mutation of the liquor hasn't turned up in a game as well.
It's
not
similar
very
to the
good,
liquor
that's probably
beta.
why. It's not very good, let's be honest.
I thought it was quite similar to the beta from 5. There's resemblances.
I forgot about the convenience of her being shot in the head and then landing on the button. Also conveniently.
Can you imagine the smell at this point? Oh, and Amina acts it so well. She's like, ow! Look at her face. And she's like, oh, yes, it's raw flesh. Oh, gross. That's Oscar-worthy, that. There we go.
Spontaneously combusted there.
They do.
No, that actually makes sense. It's an electrical.
No, it's
line,
a sea
so-
virus one where they burst into flames.
It's Veronica, yeah.
And close the door and cut the tongue. Some terrible CG fire there.
There we go. So what a journey we've been on, gentlemen. What a journey.
The thing is, popping in a tyrant at the end there would have surely cost less because you just have a guy in makeup.
Probably.
You just hire someone really tall, put him in makeup, and you could have done a set piece way fucking better than that. That's
This
more
is a
in line-
CGI.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
why CGI? It's,
CGI shadow, by the way, for the door.
is
I
it?
think that was.
Yeah. They did that
If you,
with the door.
if you bet at the start that Miller's character would survive along with Matt, then you have won nothing because it was so obvious.
Oh, the
And
end.
conveniently just arrived just as the door shut.
It's up to us to take out our umbrella.
I like that shot of the shadow of the doors coming down. It's probably just someone standing in front of a light.
No, it's CGI. It's a CGI shot. It's a CGI shot.
Yeah, I doubt it.
And
Probably
this
someone-
was the
Jeez,
moment,
I'm-
everybody in the
Light,
cinema, where, and I'm again not exaggerating, as soon as I heard the word Nemesis, I had a
I got back.
half-finished drink of like cola or whatever, and I squeezed
You
it
spat
so
it up.
hard the lid popped off, and all the contents went all on the floor of the cinema. I was so angry as a Resident Evil fan at this point.
I think I'd already left by this point and I missed it completely.
I was getting very excited.
Is
Nemesis.
it worth me admitting at this point that I went and saw this and then I went and saw Spider-Man. I actually enjoyed this more than Spider-Man at the time because I really didn't like Spider-Man. I liked the sequel. Didn't like the first one.
Just a nod
But it
to
was
Eric.
horrible.
Eric
Is
maybe
this-
is
Is this Jason
he could
Isaacs in this scene?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Eric, maybe it's just twitching his own arm muscles. I think they talk about this in
Yes.
the commentary.
They do. He's able to do that
So
himself.
I'm not the only one who listens to the commentary.
No.
I feel
In
like
fact,
we're
this
in
is
a
the only
nightclub
film-
now again. You know, we're back in that German nightclub.
Just the music. Again, he does this thing. No, this is a perfect example. No matte transition, so he just does a random fade to white, and not even from the character's perspective, as if they've been knocked out. It just randomly does.
To be fair, I think it's worthwhile here because we have a big time jump as well, not just location jump.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's because he doesn't know how to transition. It becomes more clear when in later movies when he doesn't, and he does this in other movies that aren't the Resident Evil series as well.
So the liquor's infected him with the Nemesis parasite somehow.
It's genetically, it was in its claws, I guess.
It's not
Yeah,
a
but
bad
then
little body horror moment though. The tentacles coming out of the wound.
I bet there's probably not a lot of people there that would have known that was Jason Isaacs. It wasn't
No.
it wasn't credited, so now we've mentioned it.
a favour to it.
He's unofficially meant to be William Birkin, isn't he?
Yes,
yeah.
and then they make Ian Glenn's character Dr. Isaacs as a little reference to.
So he's another good actor. There's loads of good actors in this series.
Ian Glenn.
There he is.
Particularly
yeah,
a great
there's his
villain.
eyes. You see his eyes with the doctor's mask.
This is gratuitous nudity.
We've had a nip slip. We do get a bit of a vag slip as well.
I was going to say it a lot more
Yeah.
gentlemanly than
Blunt
that,
it,
Nick,
Nick.
but hey.
Ooh, twat shot. How many times have you paused this bit then, Nick?
Oh, 16, I think. Yeah, 15.
16 times?
No.
The DVD's got a burn hole in it from the amount of times it's paused it. If it was VHS, it would be all kind of right now. It would be all staticky.
The unfortunate thing was, at the time, this nudity of Miller actually made like tabloids. I seem to remember.
Yeah.
I wonder how
Really?
many extra tickets it sold. Paul Anderson was like, oh, just leave that in.
Well, I'm going to put this out there because it's a huge thing in the European markets. Nudity is not really an issue. So if a film shot in Germany for a market that he's like, I can sell it to the Europeans, they're not going to give a shit. Americans are much more.
Just going back to that shot, I was like, well, that's definitely a Mr. X that walked past.
rather than just a zombie.
Well, I want a zombie. It's definitely Mr. X look far too humanoid.
Oh, he's not got his hat on.
And this was a moment where I knew. Bearing in mind, I'm still like literally wiping the cola off my trousers at this point. This was the moment I knew they're making it a fucking movie franchise.
How could you not expect that?
Because I was hoping it was going to do terrible. In fact, I was actually sure it was going to do terrible.
Well, that's the thing. Even if it had done terrible, then it doesn't matter if they set up a movie franchise or not. It just wouldn't have got a sequel. And that's the other thing about a lot of the video game films, which I could go into. But unfortunately, this did reasonably okay for its budget.
By this point in the movie, not even the authentic newspaper pleased me.
Well, the authentic newspaper is another George Romero reference. It's Day of the Dead. I do like this. I do think this ending is quite good. It's a pretty memorable ending.
Downtown Toronto.
Yeah, it is downtown Toronto. It was an extra shoot. It wasn't part of the original ending.
Oh, what was it? I don't know.
Well, there's an alternate ending where she turns up to. Oh no, that's the second one. Yeah, there was an alternate ending plan for this. It was going to be slightly different, and then they decided they needed.
Hospital made me mad as well because it wasn't authentic. By this point, I don't know why I was still looking for authenticity. I will add, because I knew it'd basically thrown that all away. But even just like even I was actually sat here going, even the fucking hospital can't be right at this point.
Production value of this is pretty cool in Toronto.
It's a good ending shot. It's the right bus. It's the right bus as well.
In Raccoon, more victims dead.
That's literally the only proper reference, isn't it, to the first game?
Yeah, from the censored intro.
There's a STARS. For some weird reason, there's a STARS logo on the front of the police car.
Mm.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's just as bad as I remember.
It's a very good last shot. I do like that last shot.
That must have cost a lot of money to do that.
Well, it's CG augmented after a certain distance back.
It's miniature, isn't it?
No. It
looks miniature.
No, it's CG augmented. The shot in the foreground is all real, and then.
So we've got about 6 minutes worth of credits. So, what have we just watched, everybody?
Paul Anderson's most successful film to that point, I believe.
The Asylum version of Aliens.
Yeah, it's a valid point. A zombie movie with very little zombies in it, actually, when you think about it.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I will say, it has bothered me a lot less this time than it did at the cinema, just simply because, the series has been through its ups and downs in the last 15 years, so if I can sit through something like as awful as Vendetta, or play something as awful as Umbrella Corps, then that's actually not that fucking bad. I mean, in terms of it actually being a movie, Vendetta isn't that much better than that.
And this is the thing I think you can say about this movie, is that at the end of the day, as an actual production for a movie, avoiding the fact of the connections of games, it's actually an okay movie. It is a horror movie. It's middle of the road, but it's crafted fine. The writing is where it lets itself down most.
I would enjoy it more as a guilty pleasure if it was its own film and it wasn't a Resident Evil film. That's what winds me up about it.
Can I just correct an earlier Easter egg? I said it was Paul Anderson's sister. It was Miss Bolt's sister, whoever the producer. Sorry.
I noticed all these doctors at the start have all given colours. It says I'm seeing in the credits.
Yes, it is.
And see Medic and Commando 1 and Commando 2 for the other people that get no background.
They do get names in the book, if I remember correctly.
Oh my God.
Of course you have to, because how else can you describe them? Oh, Commando 1 walked down the hallway. Commando 2 took point. The medic moved to the position.
Was the book called Ground Zero or something?
The original
It was
title
originally.
For this,
Was
the
Genesis,
movie was supposed to be called this as well. It was originally there was two different titles. It was Resident Evil Genesis and then Resident Evil Ground Zero, and then because of September 11 they had to get rid of the Ground Zero, and then they decided just to call it Resident Evil. So that was the actual movie title too. Yeah.
But the book's called Genesis.
The working script title said Resident Evil Genesis, and then it became Resident Evil Ground Zero.
I'm not sure there are any. Should we have a look?
I vaguely remember the alternate ending had a storm in like an umbrella facility with a stupidly big gun.
I can't remember if that's the first one or the second
No,
one.
it is the first. I'm sure it's the first one.
How does she escape then? Because
Well, I don't think it
That's
shows
what
it.
I was
I think she literally goes in a building and some
then
umbrella
there was gonna-
soldiers look up and she
and she was
fires.
going to this gun that was going to fire out lots of little mini rockets. Yes, I remember
Yeah.
this too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was this one.
It's mainly a German production, isn't it? Looking at the credits.
Yeah, it is. I was going to say the soundtrack is very of its time too. I remember I got a publicity copy sent to me when I was running New Blood of the soundtrack from Roadrunner Records. It was very early 2000s new metal.
Yes, it was Slipknot, wasn't it, with My Plague
Yes.
as the kind of lead single into it.
Quite Moonlight Sonata, is it?
No, Mozart, no. Right, well, so...
I think there's a deluxe version that has the deleted scenes. There's the standard version didn't hit a
Yeah, there's no deleted
cover
scoring
cover
mechanism.
with a different eye. Yeah.
Are you saying my version isn't a unique version?
There was two versions. There was you've got what was the original release version, and then there was
But mine's an MVC paper slip exclusive. Worth a huge amount.
I'm looking at the Blu-rays, and it has alternate ending with director Paul Anderson's video introduction.
And what happens?
And I'll play it.
I will say, I mean, if we do go on the full journey, outside of a couple of casting decisions, it gets worse. The bar doesn't start off terribly high.
We are correct. Sorry, just to interrupt. The Matrix overcoat and the security scene. She's wearing a very the same coloured dress, so that it ties the two together. But she's wearing a black long coat and boots with slicked back hair, and the bit with the gun.
Oh, is that the gun they used on the box art in certain countries, or the poster?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it now.
And the last shot is her eye, and then her eye shutting, which is to the character full circle.
Well, I enjoyed the film. I think it's perfectly harmless, and there's a reason why I still own it on DVD, albeit I'm trying to sell it, but I still own it when I've owned Apocalypse and Extinction and have subsequently exchanged them in. So it holds a special place in my heart, not because of its quality. It's not bad. I just think at the time I was palpably excited about this film. In the same way that I am now about seeing, a new Star Wars film or something to that effect. It was
there's some high praise.
It was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I came out going, yeah, it's good, but I didn't. I'm not unaware of its inherent failings, and I think for a lot, as I say throughout the commentary, I was so determined to link this in. I think I even started a timeline, adding this in, trying to work out dates and God knows what. I know.
We probably had a conversation back in the day, Nick.
We probably have.
I still feel bitter about it because I think it's a poor film made to look more successful than it was because of the brand name, and I think it robbed us of the opportunity of having a decent film based on the first game, because the first game's got a good storyline for a little B-movie horror film. I'd have liked to have seen George Romero's take on the film. I'm not saying it would have worked. I'm not saying it would have been brilliant, but I think it would have been preferable to something that's just totally unrelated.
I still think, because everyone goes, oh, why don't they just make the first film? I still think there'll be big problems with it. I mean, personally, I would have a lot of it set in Raccoon City at the beginning. Lots of scenes in the RPD with Irons at the STARS office, Bravo team going off randomly at midnight, no one quite know why or whatever, and then the Alpha team arriving at the mansion, which would be fine. So you'd have quite a lot of exposition, a lot of build-up. I think the first film would struggle when you start deviating away from traditional BOWs and a great white shark, a giant plant, whacking great snake would really would put off a lot of people, I think.
Well, I personally wouldn't have gone that far, but this film's only got zombies and lickers in, so you could have easily had zombies, dogs, tyrant, hunter, fairly.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I would have limited it that. I wouldn't have had as much as the fan would want to see, like the Neptune and the Plant 42.
And it's just from like a logistical point of view as well. Like, putting a hunter in the movie would have been far easier than CGIing a liquor.
Mm.
You just have a guy in a fucking suit and just light it properly. That's all the alien was.
Yeah.
And when you actually see the aliens in Aliens, as in the James Cameron sequel, when you actually see like the production photos and that, the suits look good, but the way he filmed them made them amazing.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of it is just more how you, as a director, frame and light your sets. And you could have made an intimidating looking hunter through the use of light and shadow and things like that. But instead, for a movie that didn't have a great budget, they go for a CGI liquor, which doesn't look great. Doesn't look good now. I'm surprised how much that dated watching that actually. But
I take that point.
Your main asset for a Resident Evil movie should surely be the zombies, and like Rob's pointed out through the entire commentary, they're only used during plot device moments. They're not an antagonist as such. They're just there to derail the storyline as and when it needs to be.
Well, thank you all very much for listening to our first audio commentary. Let us know how you felt it was. Whether it was informative, whether you want to see more of them. We could potentially, before embarking upon more live action, we could in theory do audio commentaries for the CGI films. I don't know. There could be an interest in that. Let us know what you think, and we will we'll aim to please. So with that, it's goodbye for me, Neptune.
Goodbye from me, Batman.
Goodbye from me, STARS Tyrant.
And goodbye from me, Rombie.